If there was one type of light that I like more than others, it would have to be backlight. I think backlight just makes, especially areas like this where you have the hanging moss, it just makes it come to life. I love trying to make order of the chaos in crazy, chaotic forest scenes like this. I'm literally just off the side of the road. This area caught my attention because the way the light was streaming through it. What I'm attempting to do is to find a place where the light is streaming through the backlit moss, but trying to find a way to draw the viewer's eye deeper into the shot. Looking for either really bright highlights back in the center of the shot and keeping all those highlights kind of centered in the frame, or to have one subject that draws attention, kind of demands the eye back in the center of the frame. I always find that having a really strong compositional idea in an area like this really helps the composition. So I have this composition that I feel like is going to work. Basically, I have one very prominent tree in the background, and it's adding a lot of contrast right in the center of the frame. The eye is always going to be drawn to areas of high contrast, so I think that's going to help this composition a lot. I've also got these vine maples kind of leaning over into the frame, and those are backlit, which of course is like the whole reason I was drawn to this scene in the first place. So I'm just going to do 2 shots, ISO 100 f16. I'm going to bracket for exposure and do a 2-shot focus stack just to make sure I got what I need. But I probably won't even need the focus stack frames. I just take those just in case I do need them later on. So a 3-shot bracket so I can recover some of those highlights, and it's going to end up looking like this. So I'm on the first afternoon of getting to shoot on my own for a couple days before my Oregon Coast workshop that I have starting on Monday. Today is Friday, and I'm gonna try to find something to photograph. Unfortunately, we have not the kind of weather that I'm usually looking for. It's completely clear skies. A lot of the fall color in the area is gone, which is really sad. So I'm gonna kind of drive around and see if I can find some nice forest scenes to photograph. I think that's gonna be my best course of action, just because when you have no clouds, wide angle shots aren't gonna work. So I tend to go into the forest, try to find some moss to backlight. So that's what I'm gonna do today. So yesterday I never ended up finding anything that I felt was gonna make a good photograph. Stopped a lot of times, saw a lot of beautiful stuff, no photographs. So today I've actually headed further south, further west. I'm actually in central Oregon now, and I've come to this area that has this series of beautiful waterfalls along this small creek. So we're hiking down the trail, going to the first of a series of waterfalls. This place is very, very beautiful. There's so much hanging moss. We're a little bit past fall color, but that's okay. There's more to life than fall color. I'm excited to get down in the water, get my feet wet, see if I can make a photograph or 4, see what we can find. I'm struggling to find anything that really works for me compositionally. There's not a lot of water flowing down the waterfall itself, which makes it just kind of a narrow little band of highlight in the background. Yeah, just not feeling this particular area, but that's okay. There's so much more downstream. What I'm really hoping to get, and I'll try not to, like, you know, go in with too many preconceived notions, but I want to get some of these big moss-covered trees interacting with the river. That's what I'm really hoping for. So here it's just kind of wide open. There's just bare birch trees overhanging, and it's not very pretty right now. So I'm gonna head downstream, see if we can find something different. This particular composition just wasn't working for me. So we're gonna head downstream, see if we can find something a little bit more pleasing to Nick's eye. So I ended up having to go back to the car and put on a lighter jacket because I was starting to get a little overheated. Doesn't take much for a big fella to get overheated. That brings me into my next point. We're racing against the light. We are in kind of a little bit of a, I don't know, a narrow canyon. So we're gonna be fairly protected from the harsh light because again, there's not a cloud in the sky. But eventually that sun is going to stream up the valley. And while if I'm in the right position, it might be cool, it'll also be very difficult, most likely, to work with that harsh light. So I want to get shots before that happens, just in case it's too difficult to work with. Sometimes you just gotta lay down on the job. So the reason I'm laying down is because there's this really cool little whirlpool happening here where some of the foam that's getting churned up by the rapids, I call them rapids, but they're just like tiny little cascades. Some of the foam that's being created is swirling right in front of me, and then in the background we have, you know, a tree that it's not the most photogenic tree, but it does have a bit of character, and I like that. Also, you know, laying down in nature, why not? It's kind of comfortable. It's kind of cold too, but I'm gonna experiment with different shutter speeds here. I'm gonna go down to ISO 50, stop down to f16, which means that I can get to about 4 seconds before I'll start blowing out the highlights on that foam. And I'll just kind of look and see what that, this feels so funny addressing the camera laying down. And so I'll just kind of take a look at, see what that shutter speed looks like. That's probably too much. So let's try a faster shutter speed, see how that looks. I'm gonna go back up to ISO 100 f8, which will give me 0.6 seconds, half second, something like that. And that gives me a completely different look. Not sure that I like either one, honestly. Okay, this is getting uncomfortable. So I've found a composition that I think I really like. What I like about this area is we have multiple tiers to this rapid, and the water is flowing in from different parts of the shot, and it's really cool. I'm kind of up against a couple things though. The water in the center is very, very bright because it's reflecting down, reflecting the sun back. The problem is it's dark enough that I'm gonna try a polarizer, but we're gonna be facing kind of a shot that's bordering on too dark. It's hard to get the shutter speed I want with an exposure that I want. We're gonna give it a try anyways, and maybe I'll blend in some of the polarized shot with some of the non-polarized shot. We'll give it a go though. just to give you an idea of how much the polarizer is helping, watch what happens as I turn this. It's really cutting that glare down, and I actually like the way it looks polarized much more. The hard part will be getting the shutter speed I want, so I might have to do a bit of a focus stack, which will enable me to shoot at a more wide open aperture and hopefully get the shutter speed I need. So first off, I'm gonna get a shot at ISO 100, focused on the background, f11 so I get a nice sharp shot, clean off my filter, take that shot. But you can see that that's giving me a shutter speed of 1.6 seconds, which is gonna be too slow for what I want to accomplish here. I'm going to open up my aperture. Let's try 6.3, speed up my shutter speed. That's gonna give me 0.4 seconds, which is not quite as fast as I want it to be. We'll take that shot anyway. And I'm focusing on that background rapid there because that's where we're gonna start to blend this shot in with the f16 shot. So we'll take that. And now we'll focus on this closest rapid. We'll take that shot. And now I'm gonna review and see if I like the water movement in our shot here. I'm just zooming in on the water and trying to determine if I like that shutter speed or not. I feel like I would like it a little bit faster. So I'm gonna increase my ISO up to 200, which will allow me to speed up my shutter speed to 1/5 of a second. And we'll take that shot. I do like the texture in this 1/5 of a second much better. So I'm gonna redo my focus stack at this 1/5 of a second. So we'll focus here. We'll focus back here. And then I'll blend that f16 shot that is sharp everywhere with nice low ISO with this 1/5 of a second shot, but I'll only bring in just the water portions of this 2-shot focus stack, and it'll end up looking like this. So I've shot several more compositions. I did several vertical oriented shots. They were actually shots I did before I went and grabbed the polarizer, but I like the way the polarizer is looking a lot more. So I redid those compositions. That's the nice part of not being rushed for time. I mean, we do have some sun poking through over here, which means that I don't know how stuff downstream is going to look, but the nice part of this area is that I wasn't pressed for time, so I could really dial in compositions, and that's nice for a change. I always feel like I'm super rushed because sunset's coming or sunrise is happening, and it sucks being pressed for time like that. So I'm gonna continue downstream. I don't know if there's gonna be anything down there to photograph, but we can go see. If not, this could be the end of the video because I never know when the end of these videos are. But regardless, we're gonna go downstream. I'll either see you again in a second or I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy, everybody.